Alright, we are back and we are still adding some static meshes to our level. Now this is going to be the last video where I really take the time to add each individual mesh right here on camera, because at some point it just becomes the same thing over and over again. You select a mesh, you drop it in, you rotate it, you scale it, you position it, and you move on and find something else. However, in this video I want to add something particular to the level, and it's something that you're not actually going to find a static mesh for. So it's just to keep you aware of the fact that while you may not see exactly the mesh that you want, there is a way to kind of reappropriate or take a mesh that is already there and use it for something else. So what I want are some shelves that fit along the walls in between these braces. However, if we come over here to the content browser, and if I clear everything out and click on all assets, if we type in shelf, we don't get anything. If I try shelves, we still don't get anything. So I don't want you to get caught up in that kind of thing where you say, oh, well, I don't have a static mesh to do that. Whenever possible, try to take what you do have and make it look like whatever it is you need. And in this case, we can do that. So let's search for fire escape, one word. And you're going to see SHU, floors, SM, fire escape straight 256. I'm just going to grab this and drag it right here against the wall. We'll close out the content browser for the time being. And a couple of things. One, this is really big. Two, it's kind of pointed outward, and I'd like this rail to kind of run along the length of the shelf. So I'll start off over here in the top view just by rotating this guy around, like so. Now let's place it here along the inside of our support. And I'm going to lift it up into the air so it's somewhere around where this kind of metal track is here along the side of the wall. Almost like maybe it clicks right into that track. Now, I'd like to resize this so that two of these guys could fit in between our braces. So what I'm going to do is punch in some numbers. Now, if you'd like, you can sit here and tap the spacebar until you get the scale tool out, and you can try rescaling. You can also come up here to your main toolbar, and right next to your scale widget button, there's a non-uniform scaling mode you can click on, and you can scale along individual axes if you like. So you can play with that until you get an exact value that you're looking for, but to keep things kind of moving along, I'm going to give you some actual values that you can use. In X, we're going to go with 0.8. And now remember, X is actually the second field over. In Y, we're going to go with, it's kind of a random sounding number. It's going to be 0.7493, which I did actually get with the non-uniform scaling tool. And then our last one is going to be 0.483. And what that does is that just kind of shortens this up a little bit so that the rail isn't quite so tall. Now we can tap spacebar until we get our translation widget back out. And currently, if we take a look, I'm in local mode in my reference coordinate system up here inside the main toolbar, which means if I try to drag along X and Y at the same time, the motion feels a little awkward. So if I set this back to world mode, that awkwardness goes away, and I can drag this around much more easily. So now with those scale values in, I can now hold down Alt and drag out a copy of this guy, and you'll see that the two of them will fit together very nicely right in between our braces. So that's perfect. Looks great. Now we need something to hold this up, so let's go back into the content browser, and this fire escape has its own support system, which is SHU Floors SM Fire Escape Support. I'm going to select that, close the content browser, and let's add this through the right-click method. I'm going to come over to Add Actor, Add Static Mesh, and there we go. Now currently it looks like this guy is facing entirely the wrong direction. So here in the top view, I'm going to tap the spacebar and rotate this guy around. So now he's pointed out into the level, and I'll slide him up a little bit so he's right underneath the shelf. But obviously this support is a little on the oversized side. Now once again, if you'd like to play with your non-uniform scale or punch in different numbers and try stuff, go right ahead. What I'm going to do to keep things a little bit quick in terms of the video is just give you some numbers to use. So for X, we'll leave this at 1. For Y, we will set this to 0.7. And for Z, we will use 0.5. And you can see that actually fits really nicely, so we'll slide this over right against the edge of the shelf. Now in the top view, I'm going to hold down the Alt key and slide this over to the opposite side. So now we have a support on either side of our shelf system. Nice, quick, and easy. Now this is just one shelf. I would like shelves in between all of our braces on both sides of the room. So I'm going to grab all of the meshes that make up this shelf system. And then here in the top view, I'll hold down Alt and we'll slide these over. And we'll just make sure those fit nicely in between the braces. And it looks pretty good right there. Now, let's grab both of these shelves. So now let's grab the braces over here. Now I'm just holding down Control and clicking as a reminder. And once I have all of these selected, let's go back up here to the top view. I'm going to hold down Alt again, drag these up in the X-axis, tap the space bar, and we'll rotate them around 180 degrees. And then I can just slide them right into position, and then we can just zoom in and get them right where they need to be. I didn't mean to deselect, so let me just tap Control-Z to undo. And there we go. So now, if we take a look over here in perspective, we have shelves on either side of the room. Nice and quick and easy, but having shelves is really just half the battle. I would like to also add some objects to put on the shelves. So let's come here under the content browser once again, and I'm just going to search for anything that sounds like a crate. And we have this SLT Mech SM Crate Box 02A. I'm going to select that. Actually, let's go ahead and drag and drop that. It's so much easier. So we'll just drag and drop that right against the wall. Doesn't really matter where it goes. And we'll slide this up. Let's bring it out just a little bit, and I'm just going to set it down right on the surface of the shelf. If you need to, use your orthographic views just to help make sure you're getting things lined up nicely. You don't want it to stick through the bottom of the shelf. You also don't want it to hang over the rail, so we'll slide it back a little bit. And then, you can make copies of it. Like, we could take this guy and maybe give him a tiny little bit of rotation so it's not quite so exactly lined up. Then hold down Alt and drag out another copy and give this a little bit of a different rotation. Now let's grab the both of them, and we'll just tap the spacebar to grab the translation widget. We'll slide these over to this shelf, and we'll give this guy a really different rotation. In fact, we'll kind of slide him back against the wall a little bit more. Now, maybe this shelf across the way only has one box on it, so I'll Alt-drag a copy over here. And we'll just kind of center this guy up a little bit so it's not quite that organized. And then we'll put one over here, and this one, just for the fun of it, let me grab my Rotate widget, and I'm going to set this over to Local. And I'm just going to rotate this guy over onto his side, tap the spacebar, and slide this guy up a little bit. And then we'll just slide it back a little so it's not hanging over the rail. So this one actually got knocked over and it's sitting up there on its side. So there we go. We have shelves. Those shelves have objects on them. Very quick and easy to set up, and we didn't actually have any quote-unquote shelf static meshes. We ended up reusing the fire escape meshes, and I mean, now that they're set up like this, they look exactly like shelves. You'd never question it. So that is going to wrap things up for this video. Now from here on out, I'm not going to be going through and placing each individual mesh. When we come back, we're going to take a look at how we can group our static meshes together to keep track of what meshes are where. And then as we move forward, you're going to see more static meshes just kind of appear in the level, but I'll give you a breakdown as to what's included in each static mesh area so you can see how these objects were placed. Outside of that, I encourage you to strike out and create your own creations. Build your own objects together with these static meshes. Build this environment kind of after your own image. So that will wrap things up for this video. Thanks a lot.